Next one's called Mrs. Isn't it lovely to be in a lovely quiet room with sort of hushed tones? I recently read in our local library to the accompaniment of the squeaking library trolley as they continued to shelve books, and a very elderly lady who'd been wheeled in, probably under duress, well indeed clearly under duress, by a couple of other people who interrupted me in the middle of my reading to ask if I could pass the plate of biscuits. Needless to say, I obliged and promised her that she really was not obligated to listen, whereupon with great alacrity she leapt up from the wheelchair and rushed off to choose her library books. Well, there you go. These things are obviously sent to tell us something about the nature of poetry. But, next one, as I say, is called Mrs. He's at it now, all that thumping and banging from his blasted shed. What is it that he does? Saw Joan this morning pegging out the sheets. Is he building a bloody ark in there, she said. He's daft enough, I said. Will laughed. Our Jem calls him a craftsman. My eye. Why can't he come when he's called? Once I rang the radio station to put out an alert. No, and if you're listening, the missus says your tea's on the table now. He never heard it. There till dark most nights. I see the lamplight glistening on the street and wonder. By bedtime is a face on him like thunder, and I know I'm for it. The bed creaks, an old ship straining its mooring. He hammers away, not a word. In the yawning expanse that is my life are the shrieks of rainbows, and an ocean clamours at my door. I don't think I can do this anymore. Just very quickly, I realise when I'm preparing readings, I have amongst my notes for sort of things that I think might go down well, obviously we tailor them to an audience, a very prosaic title called Nature. And it's only again this week, I think, at an earlier reading, when I realised that even what I call nature poems deal with probably the nature of loss more than anything else. And the idea that, sorry to be depressing on this beautiful sunny day, but everything is very transient, that even a beauty that makes you astonished and stand back and feel overwhelmed with joy, if you like, could so easily turn. And the prosaic title, On the Canal Too, sort of tries again to capture that. Captures it so well I can't find it in the book. This is the land of kingfishers' wings and sudden rats, of mallards gang-banging their own, and lambs' games of billy-goat gruff on the flat steps of the bridge. Once you saw deer, smoky in the crack of trees, and on winter mornings when air is furred and black with frost, owls call, cold and long. You sit on Thomas Kirk, 1928 to 2002, of all things his favourite place, and wait for the angel boys on the far bank, quick and comic, tottering to the water's edge, stubby wings stuck out like thalidomide arms. You feed them bread, their Dalek clicks a small song of thanks. Wonder if this is what it feels like to be dead, space and a light that calms. In the farmyard, on the bend, an abandoned car is radiant in a confetti of blossom, wheels wedded to mud and grass. At this moment you care about nothing, though this too will pass. Like the heron, stone still till he lurches skywards, just ash streaked with soot in the end. Just going to finish with a couple of poems that, again, return to the theme that Jan so beautifully summed up my writing when I struggle, to sort of think, oh, goodness me, what am I going to say about it? That it is about voices and about, as I say, fragments of experience that lodge, both of them very, very different. The very last one, actually, no, I'll introduce that last. Forget that. Can you edit this? Can you miss bits out and splice it, from where you've actually got it wrong and it sort of said something you didn't actually want to say?
We'll have that.
Like I said, they do it on TV, so I'll be very disappointed if you can't. This one's called Ghost Song, and it is the titles collection. Not last night, but the night before, 24 robbers came kicking at my door, crying, "Mother, mother, don't let them in. Mummy, won't you save me?" Not last night, but the night before, 24 robbers came bursting through my door. "Oh, mother, mother, let me in. Mummy, can't you hear me? Mother, mother, let me in. Mummy, won't you save me? Sandalled foot that smacks the floor, yells and thump of open door, tiny palms that print and map, smear the glass on which they slap. Mummy, can't you hear her song of crimson, of echo and valley, the abyss? Not last night, but the night before. 24 robbers, here she comes, feet, symbols, at the heart's core. She is the tiger's roar. Count the steps, the footsteps of my child. I kept her shoes. Blue sneakers, laces, broken strings. Not last night, but the night before. I hear her. It is screech, banshee, dark as bliss, and sticky. It's a little reminder there that does link quite neatly on to what the last poem I'm actually going to read, is that my own memory of a child in school is that actually was summed up very neatly for me by a gentleman at a reading this week who, when I asked what people expected of poetry, he said indecipherable language. It's a great start. A little bit later on, the same gentleman challenged me to define what poetry was, because what he'd heard of mine, he said, wasn't poetry, it was prose. It didn't have rhyme and rhythm and no scansion. Even though I just read something with, I thought, lots of internal rhyme, but there you go. And fortunately, he came up in the interval and said that I'd converted him, to which I was greatly relieved, because it was either that or slink out at the back, or sort of wait in a dark bush and accost him on the way home. But I even remember people having to speak out loud and declaim poetry. And as a little brummie, sitting in a grammar school where I often felt very out of place amongst very middle-class children who had piano lessons and violins and things like that, I used to dread my turn, so much so that it spoiled completely the lesson for me, because I couldn't concentrate on what was coming next. My heart was thumping so hard that I knew I was going to have to speak out. Many of you will know the D.H. Lawrence poem, A snake came to my water trough, etc. And I have a very clear memory to this day of a girl whom I secretly admired very much, with a wonderful cut glass voice, who used to win all the prizes for public speaking at our school. And she stood on stage one day and, declaimed, "A snake came to my water trough the other day, and I, in pyjamas for the heat," etc., etc. And, of course, I was sitting on the back row going, rubbish, like this, but secretly knowing she was going to win and secretly wishing I could read like this. So, An Angel I'm going to finish with. I often finish readings with this, bit of fun. And this is my best poetry reading voice. An angel came to my water trough the other day, and I in pyjamas for the heat to drink then. Descending on a sunbeam, feet first in slippers of cloud, he comes skidding down, skirts flying up and mug in hand. Lights up a cigar, though smoking's not allowed and unauthorised persons are banned from these premises. Demands a pint of Guinness, if you please. Then more arrive, hundreds on 'em, all trying to squeeze into my yard. Shimmering and shimmying, all whee and shriek and yell. No harps or heavenly choir, no pure-struck air or resounding bell, just the clacking of Pentecostal tongues of fire. So much scandal-mongering and rumour, too much cackling and excessive drunken humour. So, I turned the house pipe on, and I blasted the buggers to kingdom come. For full details, see my website, www.exterminatingangels.co.uk.